In every movie I watch from the 50s, there is only one thought that swirls around my head now. And that's that everyone there on the screen, yeah, everyone there on the screen, well, they're all dead now. They're all dead now. And it ain't easy living above, and I can't help but keep falling in love with bones and ashes, with bones and ashes. And when the color's too bold and bright, I'm daydreaming in black and white until it passes, until it passes. And I wanna know the measure from here to forever. And I wanna feel the pressure of God or whatever. No, these days it's so hard to relax. You gotta hold a gun to my back to make me smile, to make me smile. And the only way I seem to cope is by trying to hold on to hope, if just for a while, if just for a while. And I wanna know the measure from here to forever. And I wanna feel the pressure of God or whatever. It seems more than ever, there's no hands on the lever. And I wanna feel the pressure of God or whatever. Holy rollers keep rolling while the searcher keep scrolling. I wanna know the measure from here to forever. And I wanna feel the pressure of God or whatever. And now it seems more than ever, there's no hands on the lever. And I wanna feel the pressure of God or whatever. Or whatever.
Hi, I'm Gary Calamar from 88.5, the SoCal Sound, and I'm here talking with Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie. The new album is Asphalt Meadows from one of my favorite bands who are now 10 albums and 25 years into their career. How you doing, Ben?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Enjoyed your acoustic set. Thank you for playing a few songs for us.
Absolutely, no problem.
Sounded great. So you got the new album. It's coming out in a couple of days. Tell me about the challenges in recording the album. I know you guys were all in different cities, different locations. How did that all come together?
I think the challenges weren't that dissimilar from what anybody else had been going through through the pandemic, which is that, we were unable to get together for myriad reasons, COVID being one of them, but also we live in 4 different cities, and some of us have kids, so, kids being in school during that time, it was complicated, the potential vectors of COVID, which we were not really willing to kind of risk. So, it was a challenging time, for everybody, but creatively it turned out to be rather fruitful once we kind of really leaned into the reality of the situation.
And you got together for the actual recording, or how did that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we made the record mostly here in Los Angeles and in Seattle together. We started in December of last year, and then finished it in January, February. So yeah, we did all that together, but the writing and arrangement was all done remotely.
And I know you brought in a new producer for this album, John Congleton, who's
Yes.
worked on so many albums and with so many bands. How did you come upon picking him to produce your new album?
Well, we had been going down the road with a British producer for about a year, and for a number of reasons, COVID-related, health-related, financially, it became apparent that it wasn't going to work. And Zach was friends with John. He'd worked with him on a number of occasions. And John was up in Seattle working with Tegan and Sarah in, I guess, August or September of last year. And Zach was like, you should really meet with John. I think you might get along with him. I was like, okay, cool. So we went and had coffee, and immediately we just really connected about the music we'd kind of grown up with and just our general life philosophies, politics. We just got on really well immediately. Mm-hmm. And I think that was by Zach's design. He knew that if we got in a room together, we would really hit it off. So, it was right at that time where things were kind of falling apart on this other path we were on, and we were able to pivot to work with John. And of course, we were all friends. We were not all friends at that point, but we were all fans of John's records. And he had been somebody we'd wanted to work with for a while, and we were glad that these things work out this way sometimes, and you kind of end up being like, oh, this was the right person to do the record all along.
Gotcha. And were you looking for a new sound, a different sound by working with him?
Well,
a subtle new sound.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as if we were looking to completely, throw out the playbook. But John, having worked with John, it's very clear that he's really, one of his great talents is that he takes your idea and then amplifies it, literally and figuratively. He's able to kind of go, okay, you think it's only going to get this crazy, but we're going to make it this much more crazy. Or you think it's going to be this quiet, it's actually going to be this much more quiet. So he really kind of amplifies, your creative instincts in a way that can be a little scary at first if you're not willing to go all the way with him. But we were expressing to him from the very beginning. We were like ready to just do something new and work in a different manner.
Gotcha. So I think you're a great songwriter. I'm a big fan of your band and of your songwriting. I remember seeing you back in 1998 doing President of What, and to Here to Forever Today from Asphalt Meadows. You've written so many songs. I mean, does the writing get easier at this point or harder? I mean, how do you keep coming up with new ideas and try not to repeat yourself?
Well, it's way harder. I mean, I think being a songwriter, at least professionally, or at least releasing records, I should probably say, as long as we have, when you're first starting out, everything you do is brand new. So every idea you have is, for all intents and purposes, a new idea. It might be heavily influenced by something that you're listening to, or whatever. But it's a new expression. And I felt like when I started the band, I had broken away from a band I was in and had all these new songs. And like everything, I immediately pivoted and wrote all these songs immediately, and they were all new and exciting to me. And I think the longer that I do this, the more work I put in, the less I get back. So that just means that, and I don't mean that in like a woe is me kind of self-flagellating manner, but just that it means you have to do a lot more work to get a level of quality that I think people deserve from us.
Well, you came through on the new album. The song Here to Forever is great. Heavy rotation at the SoCal Sound.
We appreciate that.
And can you tell us a little bit about that song and what you're trying to say in that song? It's a little dark.
Yeah, they're all a little dark.
They're all a little dark.
That song was, I think, the last song that I wrote for the record. And as is often the case writing a record, there are these kind of like lyrical themes that are floating through different songs in different kind of iterations. And I'd written a couple versions of that first line and that first chorus that I tried to place in other songs. Excuse me.
The first line is a killer.
Oh, thank you. And I've been kind of ruminating on this idea because when my wife and I will be watching old movies or something like that, it's kind of an inside joke of ours that she'll turn to me and be like, "That dog's dead now," or like, "That old lady's been dead for 50 years, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know," and it's a gallows humor, but it's
I think of some of those things myself.
Yeah, and you're like, and But at the same time, I think there's something kind of beautiful about recognizing that, because in acknowledging that, you're also acknowledging that this person put something into the world. They left something behind, and they left something, and they left a part of themselves behind for you decades after they're gone. And you can watch this thing and be like, oh my God, I'm totally in love with this, French New Wave movie star. But they've been dead for 40 years or whatever, and like it's kind of I really enjoy that element of kind of old media, that you're able to kind of interface with somebody who is assuredly not with us anymore, but their spirit is in this work on cellulite. So the song kind of starts with that kind of gallows humor, but really at the core of it, the song is kind of more of a question than an answer. It's really like that there's, through all the uncertainty that we've lived through, not only in just the last couple of years, but the 4 years before that, and just as systems break down in places, and our climate is continuing to change. Not to bring it down into all this stuff, but it's a source of great anxiety for me, and I know a lot of other people. So the song is kind of answering that question, or is asking the question of like, or just the statement, I guess, more so of I wish I could just believe in something. Just, it doesn't matter, God or whatever. I'll believe in whatever it takes to kind of give me some kind of solace and some kind of, from this kind of these turbulent times that we're living in.
Well, I mentioned it's dark, but there's also a lot of warmth and optimism to the album as well. So
I hope so. I mean, I usually, when I'm writing songs, I write them linearly. So, like a song like Here to Forever, the first verse is this very dark kind of observation. And then getting to the chorus, there's kind of a lift, an emotional lift in it, I'd like to think. But the way I got to that is like I wrote this first verse, it kind of vomited it out. And I was like, that's pretty dark shit. I should probably, let's pull it, let's get it back. Let's get it back. And so because I write linearly, I'm able to kind of, it's like a full thought. It's almost like somewhat like a conversation I'm having with myself, where I'm able to pull back from the edge of it.
Cath, she stands with a well-intentioned man, but she can't relax with his hand on the small of her back. And as the flashbulbs burst, she holds a smile like someone would hold a crying child. And soon everybody would ask, what became of you? When your heart was dying fast and you didn't know what to do. Cath, it seems you lived in someone else's dream, in a hand-me-down wedding dress with the things that could have been all repressed. But you said your vows, and you closed the door on so many men who would have loved you more. And soon everybody would ask what became of you. When your heart was dying fast and you didn't know what to do. The whispers that it won't last roll up and down the pews. But if their hearts were dying that fast, they'd have done the same as you. Not have done the same as you.
So as I mentioned, the album, Asphalt Meadows, comes out in a couple of days, and you took the striking photo that's on the cover of the album.
I did, yes.
Can you tell us about the photo and why you chose that for the album? And hopefully we can show that on the video.
Yeah, so I was on a run in San Francisco on Bernal Hill. Our manager, Jordan Curlin, lives nearby. And there's a series of trails that I always like to run because you get this 360 view of San Francisco and the bay, and it's gorgeous. And I kind of came around this bend and I saw these two nuns just kind of standing, staring off into the distance. And I kind of ran past and I was like, I really got to get a photo of that. So I kind of just doubled back. They were still there, took the photo, and I sent it to everybody in the band and was like, hey, this is the cover of our next record. And they were kind of like, ha, ha, ha. I was like, no, really, it's the cover of the next record. This is what it's going to be. So, my wife is a photographer. Her name's Rachel Demi, and she was able to help kind of clean the image up because I shot on an iPhone.
Uh-huh.
She was able to, she's very skilled in kind of, I don't know the technical term, but kind of touching up the photograph so that it's kind of trying to make it a little bit crisper and making sure that the areas of the photograph that need to be in focus are in focus and other areas can kind of be out. And she would explain the process to me of like, okay, well, see, it's the negative space and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's tech talk. I don't understand, but thank you. So she was very integral in kind of saving that photograph so we could use it for the record.
Very cool, very cool. Taking a little detour here, I know you keep very busy. Earlier this year, you curated a tribute album to Ms. Yoko Ono.
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us about that project a little bit?
Yeah, I've been a fan of hers for a long time, and maybe 20 years ago, maybe even longer, I was in a record store and in the O section, and maybe I was searching for like OMD,
Orleans, maybe.
Yeah, or like OMD or something like that. I was finding the OMD section, and I came across a copy of her record, "Feeling the Space," and it was $7 or $8. It wasn't super expensive, and I remember thinking like, oh yeah, like I haven't really heard a lot of her music. I mean, the stuff I've heard is pretty wild, but yeah, whatever. It's like $7 or $8. I'll buy it and check it out. And this is before you could like check something on your phone to see if you liked it or not. And I brought it home and I put it on the turntable, and I just was really floored with what I heard, which was nothing like what I thought I was going to hear. It was this very lush arrangements, really kind of poignant lyricism, and her singing voice is wonderful, and the avant-garde work is certainly a part of her canon, but it's by no means representative of the whole. So over the last 20 years or so, I would get in these kind of, not so much arguments, but kind of advocacy sessions on Yoko's behalf with people who claim to be kind of heads, but didn't know her records. And I'd be like, oh, you got to check out this record, that record. And they were kind of hard to find. They weren't in print. They weren't on streaming services or anything. So I I had this idea of I think if people heard these songs interpreted by artists that they like or love, that I think it could potentially change some people's opinions on her as a songwriter. So I worked with David Newgarden, who's her manager, and our manager, Jordan Curlin, and we were able to kind of put this amazing list of people together. I mean, I didn't go out to David Byrne because I just didn't know if I could even get in contact with him, and he contacted us wanting to be a part of the project. So it was a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
Very cool. Did you get to spend some time with Yoko?
I still have never met her. Yeah, I mean, but my motivations for the record were not to get invited to Thanksgiving. It was more so.
Although that'd be nice.
It would be nice, but no, I've yet to meet her. But I hear that she's appreciative of the project.
Excellent. Well, that album is called Ocean Child: Songs of Yoko Ono. So I have one question here from a listener who visited the Death Cab for Cutie Wikipedia page. And there it says, you had said in an old interview that you never meant for Death Cab for Cutie. Well, it says were quoted from an old interview. The name was never supposed to be something that someone was going to reference 15 years on. So yeah, I would absolutely go back and give it a more obvious name. Do you have some other names that you would consider at this point?
I mean, I would have called us the Killers, but we got beat to that. No, I think I said that in reference to when the band was first kind of out in the world and putting records out. When I named the band Death Cab for Cutie, I never thought that certainly in a pre-Wikipedia world, a pre-internet world, that where did you get the band name would be asked every time I talked to somebody, right? So after the
I didn't ask that.
You didn't? Of course not. Of course not. Oh no, we're good. Yeah. But it's and thankfully now that we have the internet and Wikipedia, that's not a question you need to ask an artist. Right. Where did you get the name? Because it's on the internet. But before that was the case, I got asked that question hundreds of times, and it became annoying. But I realized also that I had done this to myself by naming the band Death Cab for Cutie. It was a complete own goal on my part. So that's what I meant in saying that I probably would choose something a little less esoteric and a less obscure reference, let's say.
Well, I know you've been on the road for quite a while, and you're going back on the road and into the new year in Europe, and I just want to wish you the best. Good luck with the new album, Asphalt Meadows. Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie, thank you so much for the set and for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
Right on, brother.
Yeah.
It's been a battle just to wake and greet the day, and they all disappear like sugar in my coffee, like sugar in my coffee. A hint of sweetness, but the bitterness remains, the acidity devouring my body, devouring my body. But I am learning to let go of everything I tried to hold too long, 'cause they all explode like Roman candles. I used to feel everything like a flame, now it's a struggle just to feel anything, to feel anything. I watch the world from a window on a hill, everyone moving as I'm standing still. I'm standing still. But I am learning to let go of everything I tried to hold too long, 'cause they all explode like Roman candles. Ah, ooh, ah, I tried to hold too long, 'cause they all explode like Roman candles, like Roman candles.